Now, more than ever, our data is at risk. Our supply chains are in jeopardy. Our systems are broken, and businesses feel powerless. Dragonchain gives you a different way, a safer way, a better way, and you have power over your data. Dragonchain gives you proof in an untrusted world. Build now at dragonchain.com. America's blockchain.
All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 17 of World Blockchain Roundtable. Hosts today are Greg from Rivet, Dave from Den.social, Sean, creator and entrepreneur, and I'm Joe, founder of Dragonchain. Quick update on last week's show. We had 2,000 lot will be created. Each host from last week is going to get 333, and each topic contributor from last week will get 111 lot. Those tokens come with perpetual passive income based upon activity in the roundtable layer, free edits, future governance votes, so on. And the theme this week is smart contracts. So let's look at the topics. How everybody's doing? How's everyone doing?
Good.
Okay. Good deal. All right. Refresh. And the first question is from Jacob Wayne. Question: is it an easy task to create an informal smart contract between friends? For example,
are you guys getting a feedback echo, or is it just me?
I think it's just you. At least I'm not. But
I'm not.
I'm sorry, man. Okay, so if you wanted to bet someone 2,000 dragons or anything that you can't jump over that fire, write up a smart contract, it would certainly welcome adoption. What do you guys have for input on this? I have some answers, but there are a lot of answers.
I wish other people were here because I'm the least qualified. But I think smart contracts are super underutilized. Years and years ago, when they came out, I thought, oh, this is so revolutionary, not just for the stuff that they're used for, but for stuff like that, everyday little things. I thought that lawyers would have just latched onto it and started to write these digital smart contracts for people. I thought it would be much bigger. I thought there would be literally digital law firms by now. But that being said, there are some new projects that are doing just that, utilizing smart contracts, which kind of are like a cut and paste thing that you can write something simple like that for like a bet or just something simple like that to where it'll execute and reward the person if they win, which I thought would be really, really bad for like marriages. Because you could have technically like an AI third party that would settle arguments, and that's one of the things that they push it at. If you have an argument, do this, put in a smart contract. You could, give actual proof, and then the AI would tell your wife she was wrong. So it's like, this is really bad. But yeah.
Greg, muted. You're muted.
There we go. Okay, that's better. I think there are two answers to this one. Like technically, yeah, you could create a smart contract that, settles on any real world terms, but you would need some kind of means to, like, okay, so let's say the person jumps over the fire and it's time to pay up. Do you have some kind of, immutable, trustless system that can measure that happened and then trigger the smart contract to execute? And the answer is it depends, right? It depends on what you're willing to accept as validation that event occurred. If you're on the more the more technically minded side and the more trustless minded side, then that would mean that you would need some kind of way to on-chain measure that event had occurred, and that would be pretty novel in the case of jumping over a fire. I mean, I could see how you could build a system that would do that, but I can't see that being super easy for somebody to do, sort of on the fly without without some pre-development work that would sort of take into account the need for a general quick contracting system. So that'd be how I'd think about it.
Wouldn't you have to bring an AI element into it or a human element? And then it's really
Something like that.
Yeah, because if you have it, let's say you're streaming it, and then the guy jumps over the fire. I mean, if you're streaming it to a bunch of Trump supporters and Joe Biden jumps over the fire, they're going to vote no, and he's not going to win. Even though he jumped over the fire. Same thing. If you have that human element, you've got that bias. So
that's why they have to give up something and have something that they lose if they lie. That's that's why anytime
now it's getting complicated. So the answer would be no. It's not
right. Really and it depends on what it is. If it's something where you already have a sensor, or you already have something that if somebody clocks in before this time, that you can already take that sensor and everybody can know that it's the truth, and that sensor is the oracle, is the trusted party. Yeah. If it could be otherwise, you could on the simple side say, look, I'm going to bet you 2,000 dragons I'm going to jump over that fire. If we both trust each other and we're not jerks, the contract's already there, because I jump over the fire and you send me the 2,000, and the contract lets you send me the 2,000 already. I mean, on the simple side, it's already exactly as you described it. On the more complex side, if we don't trust each other, or if I'm not there to see the fire, maybe you have to film me jumping over the fire, put it on chain, and then let people weigh in. Did this person really jump over the fire?
Yeah, people weighing in. That's exactly right.
Is it a real fire?
Right, exactly. Is this a deep fake where somebody else jumped over the fire and then put your face on it?
A bunch of lawyers here tearing it apart, what it means. Yeah, but even one way that we could do it is something we've talked about that we are going to add is in governance in the layers on DIN, for example. But beyond that, in the end of this question too, this type of thing could welcome adoption. I think absolutely is the case. Like if we had the ability, we had our own layer on DIN for a club or something, and using the same example here, you could have people that were owners of that layer could just decentralized, be the oracle of, did this happen? You know what I mean? If it's something like we had a big party and we made a quick, log into DIN and make a quick little bet contract or something. If there was just buttons to press, you plug in your options, and then at the end of it, you could did this happen? People chime in on it, and theoretically, more people are honest that aren't, and you get your answer. So you could do it that way and make it easy buttons for people.
Right,
to call that out. Oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
I was gonna say, if somebody made a pair of shoes that were integrated with a smart contract up front that could verify that those shoes had passed a certain set of coordinates, and that moreover they weren't walking through the fire because they've got temperature sensors in them, they jumped over it. Then you could program those shoes to detect whether or not, in fact, whoever was wearing them had jumped over a fire.
Yeah,
right?
Well, the football goes through the goalposts, but then, if you move the goalposts, the contract just wants to know if it went through the goalposts, not if the goalpost was over the fire or something like that.
But if that person cryptographically
should be,
yeah,
the goalpost position should be registered though, right?
Right. And if the person cryptographically signs the act of putting the shoes on, then we know that person.
This is a great exercise in why there's holes in smart contracts, because you have to keep thinking of these edge cases.
I will tell you that those edge cases, on the DIN, it's a really good example because it was a scoped, concise thing on how do we judge content objectively, right? And so we broke things up into layers. So you have individual communities that weigh in, because content in one community is going to be great, and another it might be horrible for that community. And we basically take that voting consensus, and so we gave people more than it's not even more than one vote, and I don't have a better word for it. This is not the right word for it, but it's basically a bet that I'm going to say this content is good or bad. That's fine. That's Reddit. But now I'm saying I'm putting a bet on this, on whether on my evaluation that I'm saying it's good. And I think that the rest of the community will love it so much that I'm going to put a ton of energy into it. Why? Because that's how I can get a sizable reward as long as I do that early enough. And if the rest of the community weighs in on consensus, agrees with me, then I'm getting a huge reward. If the consensus is backwards, then the amount of energy I put in affects the fact that everybody else thought this was bad. And I guess if I flipped it the other side, if I voted, because we had attacks where people were voting stuff down just to kill rewards for a content creator, right?
Yeah.
They had competing material, so they were voting it down, and we realized there was a flaw that you could basically kill their rewards. So instead, that amount of energy, if you're attacking someone, actually affects a greater reward, because you're betting it down like crazy, but 90% of everybody else says, no, this is great content. They're getting paid as if the energy was, in this big. And it was funny because we had a few people that hated that change.
Oh.
It was, kind of telling. So it was like, okay, why would you hate that change? It's like, if everybody thinks it's good content. So that's an example of something that can get kind of complex, but we found a way. I think.
Like, what if the point of your layer is controversial? The upvotes and downvotes then mean, the amount of energy spent on it in the aggregate, regardless of direction, is an absolute value.
Yep, exactly. So, yep, and that's what it does, and it's kind of neat. So
it's odd that it seems that the simplicity of the contract has so much to do with the people involved with it.
Oh yeah, it's trust.
Like I said, it's super simple, and there's super trust. Then the contract doesn't even need to exist. It's already there between the two people.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think that's the...
and life. It's very
well, and to your point earlier, Sean, I think that I likewise, I don't know if I knew about timing, but I think that there will be digital law firms. There will be law firms that just take here's a smart contract that is, it's here's some boilerplate, and here, just like what they do with real world normal legal contracts, where okay, here's your standard NDA, and here are all of the features in it, and you don't want that, you do want that, whatever else. The great thing is that they will hopefully be tied back to real measurable things that are either objective or have some consensus, so that
back years ago, I thought that getting rid of the banks and all that is the goal. And if I'm shipping something or receiving something from someone, like in a business, and I'm waiting for a shipped load of wheat or whatever, then I'd have to give the money to an intermediary, or we'd have to do like tons of contracts and have tons of lawyers involved, and then inspectors and everything else, where we could literally do it through just a digital law firm, write up the smart contract, the money is locked, either it gets to me, and the inspectors approve that it's there and that it's not bad and it's not full of mattress stuffing instead of real food or whatever, and then it's released. There's so many intermediaries that are taken out of it, so many middlemen. That's which is what we've been trying to do from the get-go, is to get rid of the middlemen to reduce cost and make things easier.
Well, I think that's
the point of the whole thing, right?
Yeah, that's like the key point. Is it's not so much about can you create a contract that you can resolve on chain. It's can you create a contract that you can resolve on chain with events that are measured by automated processes that report to the chain as well, right? So like, how do you do that in a way that makes it so there are no more intermediaries that you have to trust and pay?
Consider a package delivery, UPS, FedEx, anything else, right? So theoretically, and this would be a perfect situation for blockchain use, you could have, okay, I placed the order from Amazon or someplace online, right? My money should go to escrow. It shouldn't go to Amazon. It should go to and maybe it would be Amazon, but either way, that the release of that money, either coming back to me or going to whoever I purchased that from through Amazon, should be related to that shipping. I mean, the shipping should be a piece of it, that not only is it tracked, which is already kind of there, and they're already scanning everything, they're already taking pictures, but it could be an acceptance thing. You see, okay, we see it picked up, we see it delivered, we know the route, we know it was there on time, we know all of these things, and we can see the box isn't damaged. And when I open it up, if it's damaged on the inside, I could take a picture of it. And it's that whole thing that if that was all on chain, it would be a very clean process, because when I opened the package, it's, and if I don't declare, oh, I got it and everything's great, then after a certain period of time, I'm just, okay, the money releases, right? You had your
Well, that's
time.
a good point about the evolution of trust in that whole industry. They used to just send it to you and that was it. It was just all 100% trust. And then they started tracking, and then they started taking pictures at the, and now they take pictures like through, we don't have them, but they have them, in the, when it left the warehouse, what it looks like.
Right.
So that for their supply chain, they can track when it got bashed up,
Wow.
whether it's the U.S. Postal Service or whether it was one of their, warehouse workers. So that's a good snapshot of the evolution and trust in that chain.
Yep. And they I think they added the porch pictures too, because people are stealing packages every,
Yeah. So we get that porch picture. I have my grocery, DoorDash is doing it now. If they deliver your groceries or your food, they take pictures of it.
Yeah, we have a project that is on Dragonchain that they actually take pictures of the food preparer and when it's delivered, right? So it's like this thing that happens all through the process, so that you can see that was sealed by the person, and that whoever delivered it didn't actually open the bag, right?
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I lost my mind last time I used DoorDash.
Health right now.
I got Subway, and for being the kids, and it was out. It was literally 2 minutes. We bring it in, and there was all this huge bite out of my sub. I was like,
what?
"Are you freaking kidding me?" I was like grabbing my phone, and then I looked, and there's little tiny holes. The neighbor's cat had eaten like a quarter of my sub into perfect, like giant bites.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Gotta watch out for those cats, man.
I've heard of that happening before. I've just never seen it.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was like, they ate my sub. They literally, how would they? Because it was like, like, did they think I wouldn't notice? And then she's like, wait, there's a hole in the bag, Dad. Someone ate it through the bag.
Raccoons.
Like, that person must have been hungry.
I saw somebody brought a scale to a steakhouse to weigh up their 6-ounce steak, and it was like 4.8 ounces or something. And they were like,
we measure it before we cook it.
I've got my ruler out now. I'm coming for you next, Subway.
Man. All right, next one. You guys go next? Next question.
Yeah.
All right, Eternal Mickey. Okay, so they have they have posted a screenshot of Cardano, peer-reviewed. Okay, so quote, 6 years of peer-reviewed research and 90 billion plus market cap later, and the first DApp on Cardano can't do concurrent transaction processing, aka the very thing you need for DeFi. Tweeted Ethereum supporter Anthony Sassano. So, who wants to talk about this first?
I can real quick. I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but some things to really highlight is tweeted by Ethereum supporter, because it's it's somebody who's out to has been tearing up, probably, I haven't looked at their history, but a lot of people have been trying to tear Cardano apart for a while for not launching yet and things like that. So take it through that filter. It was test net, right? So it wasn't their main net. But that said, yeah, they had some issues, and it seemed like, from what I read about it, it was kind of on the developer to design it a different way. And I posted a screenshot in response to that, if you scroll down to it, which is kind of like the answer from the Cardano community about that, where they're saying, no, basically you just got to do it a different way, and you can have hundreds per block, and it sounds like mainnet doesn't have that issue in theory. And I just, based on this that's highlighted here, I just went and looked up Cardano's block time and did some quick armchair math, and it looks like they could do anywhere from, on the high end, like 50,000 or maybe even as high as 100,000 transactions per second, if they have hundreds per block, like this says. But that said, we haven't seen it yet. We'll see. I don't know. It's the very beginning. And I don't really blame any project for not being perfect when they say, okay, here's day one, which is basically what Cardano did recently. Here's day one of smart contracts.
Not to be nitpicky, but I think that when it comes to Cardano, I think people have a lot more right to be picky about day one, because I gave up on Cardano like 3 or 4 times. Same with friends of mine. Hey man, it's got to be a scam, dude. They're taking too long
personally,
because they said, hey, it's about peer review, stupid. It's about doing it right. Everyone else is wrong. We're right. They're a little uppity, and I'm just being honest. They're a little uppity. So everyone expects shit to work flawlessly because people way smarter than you idiots have been looking at this for years, and they've been reviewing it, and this is all done. It's so it's like the academia of crypto. People like expect it to work. Also, people are looking for flaws. I mean, like you said, and isn't it cool to see the birth of a whole new maximalism of Ethereum? It's literally been like, hey, maximalism bad, man.
That's been there.
I know Anthony a bit.
Ethereum only.
I mean, it's been ramped up this year specifically, though.
I know Anthony a bit, and he's been following the ETH community for a long time. I met him at a couple of I first met him at ETH Berlin like 2019. Like that guy is actually a pretty fair-minded dude. So if he's got a critique, maybe he's layering some snark in there to give it some traction. But when he says something about something like that, I tend to look closer just because he has his pulse on the technical side of it in a way that a lot of pundits don't. So I would, I would always take this kind of targeted criticism with a grain of salt anytime you see it.
Yeah, and I hope I wasn't saying to dismiss it just because it was snarky. Just that that should be considered.
But I haven't looked into the whole ADA thing very much, so I wouldn't know exactly what this whole bit that he's talking about is. But if I was going to start into it to see maybe there was a flaw with how they built it, that's probably a thread that I would pull on because he's usually kind of connected to the right way to think about it from a technical standpoint. So
I haven't given up on Cardano now, but I mean over the years I've been like, dude, it's taking too long. This is a little scammy. And Lee, which he couldn't be here today, but he was like, yeah, man, looks a little scammy, man. It's taking too long. These jokers should have done it by now. I was like, I know, dude. And then, but whenever anyone questions him over the years, they've been a little snarky themselves. They'd be like, hey, back off, man. You're just not used to people doing things right. And that has been the attitude. So it's, it's been a long time coming. So I think people are going to be critical much more so because ETH has fallen on its face countless times. I mean, you just look at CryptoKitties. It's like, yeah, this is going to change the freaking world. Look what broke it, a bunch of goofy cats.
That still tends to be what's breaking the gas prices today.
Yeah, if they had and I'll tell you, so the tribal thing is always the grain of salt. You have to take some grain of salt with it because there's so much tribalism, which is bad in the end because I wish that I didn't have to spend, because I don't know anything about Cardano, right? It's hard to judge, and it'd be great if we were just some objective people that could say, oh, this is the case and this isn't, and whatever. It's engineering, the academic side of it is BS in my opinion. Anything that is overly academic is sure to take forever and sure to be trash when it comes out. Now, I'm not saying Cardano is that, but that's the take that their angle is over. They're very academic, that they don't build stuff, they talk about it, they write about it, which is, in my opinion, not the right way to do engineering. The market cap is the thing that is the most absurd about this, that something that is in that position should not be in the position in this industry that it is. And it is all because of celebrity and personality. It's because he's an Ethereum founder. So people say, oh, I'm going to put my money there. It's like, okay. I mean, and I have no idea. Maybe it's a great bet. It was a great bet for a lot of people already. But it's a weird thing to me that it comes out and there are even these questions. I mean, you think in this amount of time it would have been over, oh, no, I've actually used them. Maybe nobody's using them yet, but I've actually used them. They work. That's a valid thing for a network at this stage in our industry. But to say it is bet as it's worth more than many public companies as a whole in market cap, And yet these questions are legitimately being asked.
And they're legitimate
fucking
questions
crazy.
still at this point. They're legitimate questions.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
the simplest way I've heard it compared to Ethereum is basically like, you look at Ethereum, which is let's build something and fix it along the way. As we find where it falls on its face, well, oh, that's why, and let's fix it. Cool. Well, take care of that. Where Cardano is more like, okay, we don't want this to be public at all until we take input from people who we think will be customers, and what do you need from developers.
And both of those,
that
I will
kind of
say, are bad. Well, I would say, I mean, Ethereum is the better, but architecturally, it should be, you should be designing something that is flexible for the things that you cannot anticipate. If you're building any system like that, that's the point, which gets a mix of both of those. That's the way you
Right.
should be building stuff.
Well, and the key there is open source, right? Like that to me is if Cardano's made a mistake, it's that they are not practicing open innovation. Like you want to bring as many minds as you can to solve the problems you've got. And especially if you're going to, like to Sean's point, like I think it's very good that especially if you're going to say, we are right, wait until we prove it, and then your proof falls flat. Like you can expect some people to be flogging you a bit.
Why
for
don't
that.
people put money in on that? I mean, like that's the part that doesn't make sense in the whole thing. I mean, because I would understand the rest of it.
A lot of people told them to.
Nothing wrong. Yeah.
A lot of people told us, and it's weird to see the tribalism to me is so strange because it's like watching a cycle of abuse. Like Ethereum was this kid that was growing up just getting beat to hell by his granddaddy Bitcoin, and now that something's coming out, it's like it had its own kid. It's over here just it's beat the crap out of him. You know what I mean? It's odd that they wouldn't be more.
And I will tell you, most of the Solana was the other one. It fell down after 400, and I don't know the details, but they're saying 400,000 transactions per second came at it, and it fell over, which is reasonable and understandable. But I don't know if it processed those 400,000 transactions, or if it was, here's a spike of 400,000 transactions and it dropped, because that's a lot of transactions.
No, I looked into that one a little bit, and Solana has some issues, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, and nobody's talking about the real issue, that there's somebody centralized who is able to turn it off and say, we're not going to do anything until we've got this fixed.
Nice.
Nice
that someone's bringing that up. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The validators were polled and came to an agreement that they would orchestrate a restart of the network. Isn't that how it was put out?
Is that what they described it as?
Yeah.
Because in a properly decentralized system, you wouldn't be able to reach all the validators.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's why I've always said it. I mean, Solana, Cardano, all of these other projects haven't had the tests that Ethereum has on capacity and various types of implementations, and that's a normal thing. Not even an attack on them. It's just that they're newer, and it's hard to get in and get that adoption going. So I don't think, in my opinion, architecturally, that most of them can do any better than Ethereum has on the fees that you see when the traffic gets to the levels they are, right? It might be slightly different, but there might be some things that they are better at on scaling, but they're going to have a lot of because they are a global consensus chain, right? And that's why to all this, it's really funny because I believe in the things you guys just said, that yes, that should be there shouldn't be a central authority that can turn it off. Now, Dragonchain, our architecture, accepts the fact that in the real world, if you have a business and you have a chain, you might want to shut your chain off because you don't want your customers to be hurt.
You guys are also not trying to be an ETH killer.
Right. We're not a decentralized, we're a hybrid system. So that's why it's an interesting thing.
And definitely don't want you guys to think that my critique there is a critique that is universally applied, depending on it's the fact that they're out there saying we're going to kill Ethereum, and then oh wait, actually I guess there is a good reason to have high fees because it stops people from DOSing our service. And maybe it's a good idea to have system requirements that are sufficiently forgiving that regular people can run the nodes if they want to. So
That's always an important one for me is because I mean I'm kind of a node runner at this point anyway, more than a miner these days, and so that's always one is can I plug into it? Can I participate?
That is, by the way, another thing that I have noticed over the years that occasionally you get a chain. I'm not going to mention any, or I'll try not to, where their market cap is really high. They're a well accepted chain, but they have like 7 or 9 consensus nodes running. That would always blow me away that wasn't like, say, a known thing that people would have fudded against this project, because I'm like, wait a minute, we're running the 10th only the 10th node on the entire network, and that's why it's hard for us to maintain it. I'm not going to say who that was, but I'm like, how is that even possible that the world doesn't say this is BS?
Well, what if a nation state wants to shut you down? They can find those 10 people.
Yeah.
Like they'll it's open to the threat from the legacy system. The violence enforced consensus mechanism is going to be very effective against your startup currency.
Okay, I think we went past. I can't remember how far away from the question we got, so we'll go to the next one. But we got through one. That was good. So next question is from Jegs. What are smart contracts and how are they a benefit to business? This is a very good base level core question, right? So who wants to take it first? Like as concise as possible.
Okay, I'll punt.
All right.
A smart contract is a contract that has terms that are pre-agreed that trigger on automated events, so that once a particular set of terms are met, the contract immutably executes once it's agreed to. So that means you don't need lawyers, you don't need courts, and you don't need really much other than trust in the system itself to execute, or to sign up for it, execute it, and trust it for your business.
That was a good one.
Yeah, anything that's being automated in software right now that still requires a third party to manage it is a potential a spot to be, where this can carve out space in.
Right, and I would say the benefit to businesses is, apologies, Greg, the ability to, as you said, not have to deal with lawyers. That the problem with real contracts in the real world is that they are so actually nebulous. They rely usually on something like legalese in English that we know what this means because this is how it's been used forever. But there's always crazy wiggle room. There are always, there are issues with not putting in an Oxford comma in a contract, and that resulting in millions of dollars going a different direction, right? Stuff like that shouldn't
That's not
be
even an exaggeration. That's real.
That's the reason I use the Oxford comma. That's the only reason is
yes.
to be
Well,
extra
Oxford
clear.
commas should always be used. And I think we have on the Dragonchain Telegram that there is an actual community rule that you have to use Oxford commas. But anyway, that if you don't have the need to go to other humans to say, well, I think this, and you can always sue anybody because you can theoretically make a case. It's all a calculus of whether you'll win or not. And with this, the whole world, aside from the smart contract system itself failing, that if we have a contract between us and the resolution date is tomorrow and Ethereum is down for whatever during that time, or we can't access the contract because the fees are too high or something else, you would need something, and ideally there would be something in the future that would even automate that on the outside.
Right. Well, I actually thought of a really great example because we actually use a smart contract for our business. Rivet allows you to, with DAI or Ethereum, buy request credits on our system. So you can actually go in, and rather than set up a credit card and use our metered billing at the end of the month, you can just purchase in advance request credits. And because we can verify that payment with a smart contract has happened, we can set up automated processes on our end that trust that payment is valid, right? There's no chance it's going to be retracted. There's no chance it's going to end up being a float balance. Like, you're going to be able to say 100% that when somebody makes this payment, you can do this on your side because it's done and it's done. So we actually have a smart contract that sells RPC requests.
It's more secure.
Yeah,
I think smart contracts overall, they've kind of like crypto in general. They've added a level of transparency. They've there's a lot of what lawyers have done that is good, but I think it's showing and stripping away a lot of the bad stuff that lawyers have created. The double talk. Let's put as much crap in there as we can, so that we can get out of this, so that we can end up screwing them over. And a contract shouldn't be a battle. It should be simple. A simple contract.
Right.
And this is doing that. It's making it very transparent, and you really don't have the ability to put in a lot of confusing stuff.
And so you end up with better standards too, because you have lawyers will reuse contracts, right?
All the time.
I've if you ever get an NDA as a business from one of the big firms, one of the big federal contractors, it's funny if you go to the word properties in there, that often it will have come from a different big firm that they just stole directly. It's hilarious. And it's hilarious. And I've seen that so many times.
It's true, but they should have scrubbed the metadata.
Yes, they should. But with smart contracts, the beauty is you probably would have them open sourced. So people would say, wait a minute, this clause should be added, or there's a hole here, or whatever else. Over time, when you sign that NDA, you would know that it's a standard NDA as of that date. You would, things like that would be very nice. And another thing I will tell you that actually happens in the real world that perplexes me as a normal person with OCD, that I might ask a lawyer, Greg, that I have so many times had someone send, very, very large contract, especially federal contracting stuff, where, hundreds of pages in a contract, and then a signature page. Mm-hmm. And so, you go through all these red lines on these hundreds of pages. It's like, okay, no, we don't want that term. We don't, you negotiate. And then when it comes to it, they just want a signature on that one signature page. They don't want a document that I'm signing at the end. I'm like, I don't even know how that could even be legally reasonable. Because if there was a violation, I never signed an agreement. I signed this one page. Yeah, we went through all these red lines, but I only signed this one page. How would you ever hold me to that whole agreement?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And the courts are going to interpret it the way that they're going to interpret it, and that's that's why nobody has ever raised that probably as an argument. Mm-hmm. And any lawyer that tried to raise that would have to ask you, is this true? Because lawyers would not be. As much as people think lawyers are okay with bending the truth or outright lying, their professional licensure is dependent upon a reputation for truth telling and not even creating an appearance of potential impropriety where they might be lying. If it looks like you might be lying, you shouldn't be doing that as a lawyer, because you might lose your ability to practice.
Yeah, might is the key word, though, because they have friends of friends of friends, and I've seen I've had regulators that have actually threatened or violated the law, according to my lawyers, that. Mm-hmm. And they didn't want me to report them. I was like, should we report this person to the bar? I'm like, no. And why? Because they're all lawyers.
It's a big, I was once a lawyer and I left it for a reason, and a lot of that reason has to do with the professional back scratching that goes on, that comes with having this regulated environment where, yes, there are these ethical rules, but as long as nobody internally accuses somebody of something else, then we're all in compliance. Mostly those are anti-competitive controls, right? And that's another thing that smart contracts can do for business, is they break that monopoly of DeFi breaks the whole collusion of financial interests in finance, right? So does decentralized law in the same sort of way. It hasn't emerged yet because lawyers are resistant to putting their intelligence into the tools. If they second it's programmed and somebody can get it automated, it's not going to be coming.
Somebody's going to do it and make a mint, though. I would say some probably in Silicon Valley is going to actually pick it up and say, let's do this, and they're going to destroy everyone else. But the key point to doing that successfully is that they will have to be a well-positioned person. They will have to be someone that no one can stop. So,
well, or it could be a flood of law students who are graduating disaffected and finding out that, in fact, that was a statistical lie that they were told about the kind of salary they can expect to get out of law school. So it could just be this this swarm of people who just automate what they learned.
Speaking of law school, and this question about smart contracts, do we think we're going to start seeing smart contracts? Like, it seems like lawyers eventually are going to need to be able to read and write smart contracts, right? It's not just the banks that are being automated away. It's the lawyers might have an issue, having enough work too if this goes that way.
We do have and I don't know what the state is anymore. Have had conversations with a group that I really liked them. They were very smart, but they were lawyers that they hadn't built it into the smart contract side, but they have you'll be able to find it, I'm sure. They have a system that basically makes it easy to map legal language into code in a way that a lawyer can map it, so that the one, a lawyer can have a one-to-one and say, okay, yeah, that's right. And it's not pure English, it's not pure code, but it was, what do you call it? A domain specific language thing,
right.
But brilliant and amazing.
Like a legal solidity pseudocode kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what's going to be happening, because if you can plug that into a smart contract, then you have the ability to actually map real world contracts, and you still will always have that Oracle consensus or sensor that you have to work in. But it's an amazing thing. It's coming. I think it's coming, Sean. I mean, it's just a matter of time and how much pushback people give and everything else. So
if DeFi is money Legos, then maybe decon is legal Legos.
Yes. Someone wants me to unblock them. I don't know where they're blocked. So anyway, whatever. Anyway, what is the next question?
And also to the last point, I don't know if there's going to be lawyers that are going to be taking, those kind of. But I think that there will be devs taking like paralegal courses, so that they'll be able to, and that'll be just another.
Makes sense, yeah.
It'll be because devs will be much more sought after. That's everyone. I mean, any time there's any kind of industry dying out or having trouble, it's like learn to code. So it'll be just another tool belt in the coders.
Well, and it can be, like law and code have a lot in common from a construction standpoint. It's all logic based. It's an internally consistent thing. Like law itself is a programming language written in plain language. That takes on special meanings and contexts, and that's really, and it's meant to be read by courts as opposed to meant to be read by computers.
By the way, sorry, I'm not getting to this next question, but there is something to be said about language itself. I can't remember even who it was, but they were talking about the development of legalese. And I had a friend who was from South America, and he mentioned that all of their contracts in his country were in English because the Spanish that they had did not have a good enough, a well enough developed legalese. So they used English because it was easier to define. And that's what before I knew about smart contracts, before blockchain, in the early 2000s, I had tried to build a system where we could cryptographically sign a contract for development work with someone and then pay them in some automated way. But Bitcoin didn't exist yet and all this other stuff. But when I talked to lawyers, their biggest concern was directly, it's like, well, you're not going to replace the lawyers though, right? And it's like that. Yeah, that's my point. That's what I want to do, right? Anyway, all right, we can go to the next one.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, ex-lawyers or fellow lawyers. Ex-lawyers are in fact not going to stay after long. I can promise you that.
Really? Floki Metaverse. Any thoughts on meme coins, building metaverses and swaps? Floki being a good example. Metaverses will need smart contracts at some point, correct? What do you guys think? I mean, I will say right away, the great thing about a metaverse with smart contracts is that everything could be on chain. So even you jumping over that fire in a metaverse could literally be measured on chain in the metaverse much more easily than real world.
Yes, if we reframe some of these questions into the context of a metaverse, that's a different answer. Yeah, you could totally do that.
Well,
Yeah.
another way to think about smart contracts, actually, this raises is you could also define a smart contract as an account that is controlled by automation, as opposed to an account that is controlled by a person, where the contract has the private keys and it executes whatever it executes whenever you interact with it. So you send it a message of some sort, you send it a token of some sort, it does something, and then issues an output.
Right.
Right. So in that sense, yeah, like
Yeah, I can see like the gamification of metaverses. Like whenever you start, man, when this really blows up into gaming, like when it really, no kidding, is built into, like Unity software development, to where you can easily make a game. You're going to start seeing smart contracts in the games that are like, if you log in every day, it's free. Otherwise, you got to pay $5 a week and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Or, if you log in every day, you get $5 a week. Otherwise, you have to pay $5 a week.
Yep.
And stuff like that.
If you're not proven vaccinated, you can't.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's
Right?
that's the kind of shit that's going to
Terrifying.
happen.
Sorry.
Pardon my language, but it's going to be weird, and it's going to be amazing, and it's just going to be interesting to be alive to watch it happen.
Right.
So I think that's where it's going. Is that everything's going to be, and even blockchain is just going to be the internet again. It's just going to be called the internet.
Yeah.
For people that aren't keeping up with it every single day to watch it evolve, they're just going to see the internet start to have new capabilities, and they're still just going to call it the internet.
Yep. New power, new flexibility. Yep.
Or the metaverse.
Yep.
Unless you want to talk about the mandates, we can talk about the mandates.
Well, I mean, this is the danger of central bank digital currencies and contracts, right? If you have to win an NFT by going and getting your vaccine, that goes into your central bank digital currency account, and if you don't have that NFT, then you can't interact with payment systems.
Or ride the bus, or take an international flight.
That's one of
Pay
the
for your electricity in your house.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and now you get back to the core of why the technology came into being, which is, it was for liberty. It was so that those types of controls couldn't be placed on, you're spending money. Europe's trying to get rid of cash, right? The entire Western world is trying to get rid of cash. Why? Because they can't trace it, right? They want to be able to trace everything. U.S. is talking about dropping the level from $10,000 transactions, where they want reporting all the way to $600 transactions. So, if you live in the Pacific Northwest, that's paying your freaking lawn care guy, right? So it's just like, it's every single thing that they.
And I didn't even know that was.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's true. Like any of the larger cities in the United States, that's nothing. Every month you probably got
right. Well, and isn't it aggregate flows?
$600 more bills.
Isn't it aggregate flows? So if you receive $300 and then send 301.
I don't know. I know that whenever when I was in the Navy, I came back from a deployment. It was it had a bunch of money because we didn't have anywhere to spend it while we were deployed. So I wanted to buy a new truck, and so I went down to the dealership and I found a good price on a used Sierra, and it was like, it was less than 20, more than $10,000, and so I just bought it and wrote them a check, and then they were like, okay, well, I got to ask you where this money came from. I got to ask you questions about, like yada, yada. And I was like, I went to work and I earned it. And now I'm buying a truck. Like, what are you talking about?
You want my money?
Right.
Yeah.
Don't you want to sell it to me?
I remember being like 16, and I was pulled over, and the police were going through my pockets and took everything out. And I just got paid and had like $480. Like, what do you do with all this money?
Yeah.
Whatever I want. Because where'd you get it? Like, from the bank when I cashed my check.
Right.
From my job. Because what do you do? Like, I work on both. They're like, we're in the wrong business. We're in the wrong business, aren't we? Yeah, we are. We should go to the business guys in. Would you steal again? Would you steal this money?
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
And and people's money gets confiscated. You start with 20K, and then
that's the crazy. That's a whole show.
They confiscate your 18K, And then by the time you get it back, it's like, oh, sorry about that. Here's your 12K back.
And these are the dangers of smart contracts, and if they are deployed in the wrong way, how do I say, if the world desires to accept something that's a centralized smart contract system, that's the type of stuff that you're going to get. You're going to get extreme control from whoever the hell's in power right now.
Well, pretty much anything the Chinese government wants to do, everyone else should stay away from that. And they're 100% wanting to do the digital yuan because it's not just traceable, and that's weird that they sell that way, like it's acceptable. Like, we just want to be able to trace this to protect
ties direct into your social credit, right?
But it's also controllable, because they won't say it's totally controllable, so we can make it so you can't live unless you do what we tell you to do.
Here's my favorite one. They're excited about the idea of negative interest rates, about how they could actively enact. I mean, why has nobody in DeFi created a cryptocurrency where the longer you hold it, the more the supply decays? Because nobody fucking wants that. Like, it's not like we couldn't figure it out. There's no use for that. I mean, unless you're literally trying to like create a verifiable time-based fuse of some sort.
Speaking of which, the first news of that came out, and it was somewhere in Northern Europe. They were proposing and or starting with negative interest rates. It might have been Sweden, I can't remember. But the weirdest thing about the whole story was that they mentioned people were hiding cash. And over here it's under their mattress. It was like, oh, they hide the cash under the mattress. Here they were saying in their microwave. I'm like, what? They're hiding cash in their microwave? So any Europeans that are listening, I wanted to know, do people hide cash in their microwave?
I'll have to ask my wife.
No, that's weird. It's such an open place.
She grew up over there.
Had to have been some odd thing they put in for some.
Like the mattress is ultra personal, is in your room. It was,
when you're sleeping,
it's not like a drawer where
getting into your that's the whole point, right? Yeah.
Plus, it's such a losing proposition. Like to hold cash right now, you are eating all of the money printing personally. Like it is a hidden time sensitive tax that you're going to eat if you hold cash. Like, put it in something else, for the love of God. If it's not crypto, buy silver or whatever. I don't care.
The crazy thing is that's the all-encompassing tax. I mean, frankly, I'd always thought they should put in a national sales tax and nothing else, so that I could control when I pay it. I don't have to file and all that other stuff. It'd be beautiful. But maybe it should just be inflation. Maybe we aren't going to tax you at all. We're just going to print a shit ton more money. And you're going to be affected. You don't have to report anything. You just, have to decide what you do with it.
We're just going to print the fuck out of it. And
that's so eloquent and that's so brilliant and it's so simple. But 90% of people would not understand what you just said.
The
so true. The government wouldn't need taxes. They'd be, hey, don't worry about it. We'll just print it up. We'll buy everything. We'll pay for stuff all ourselves.
The real problem is, though,
your money will go down. It's so simple.
It'd be hyper aggressive, though, right? Because the people who couldn't afford to exit cash for even a little bit would be bearing the burden of the tax.
No, the people the government really cares about, yeah.
Right, like regular people would be stuck holding cash from the time they got their checks to the time they went hand to mouth, right?
I will say too, there is one side of the CBDC, the central bank stuff that could be actually useful from a liberty context. That if you had, let's say you had a benevolent dictator in some country that is a very small, not a wealthy country somewhere in the world, and they decided, I love my people and I really actually want to improve their lives. This is my country, and those types of leaders have.
Hold on. I just saw a unicorn. There we
go. Yeah, it has happened. But let's say this person wanted to do good for them with their monetary system. If they held Bitcoin, as a reserve, if they held gold and silver, and they backed their currency in a predictable way, and when I say predictable, if it were literally much like Bitcoin, a controlled release, that we are only printing this many, or we are only printing this many per year, and it's guaranteed because the contract only allows that, and they are backed in this way. And when we print them, we have to either build up more gold, or it's at least exposed so people would know. That would be a very amazing, valuable thing to the world, to that country in particular. Right? I would predict that country would become wealthy because everyone would want to invest in it.
But the problem is, after that leader's gone, even if you can find an ideal perfect leader who had a good idea, got it executed perfectly, if they are a benevolent dictator, then their successor is going to have access to the same power to change it.
Well, what about even a DAO that's like has to adhere to a contract, a smart contract that controls a DAO? You know, everybody dies off, and then everybody who joins it and takes power, still has to operate within that contract.
True. You could theoretically create that central bank in that entity as a decentralized governance system, where every citizen would be weighing in on, no, I don't want more money to be printed. I prefer it. Yeah.
But do you think they're really going to do that? You think they're really
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
No, I know. I know you're not saying
that. That is and the problem is that idea is not out there. If that idea were out there, it might happen, because some of these, even ones that are not perfectly, benevolent dictators, they might say, holy crap. I mean, we'd have more power in the world. My position would be better if we did this. I don't know. I mean, it's a theoretically doable thing.
I'll go out on a limb and I'll predict that before that happens, that'll happen in a metaverse, and that metaverse will become flush with wealthy citizens and potentially even a political entity.
You could say an informal metaverse would be the cryptocurrency world itself, that a lot of people in the third world are actually participating in this industry precisely to pay their bills in ways that they couldn't do otherwise.
Right. You're talking like a universal, rather than universal basic income, kind of a universal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whatever the tax base puts in to come back.
You freeze at the best times. You literally look like you were blowing us. You froze. You froze. You freeze, Greg, at the best times.
Okay.
Most hilarious, most opportune times. And that time you froze and you were like.
Okay. So you guys didn't hear what I said. That's good to know. I was proposing a universal basic dividend instead. Like basically instead of a basic income, have a basic payback that, depending on how much how much the government is efficient about what it does.
Yeah.
Everybody.
If you had decentralized governance and you got a dividend based upon performance, and you'd have to, what is the performance?
People would give a crap. Boy, would
Imagine people would give a crap, and you'd then be actually competing against other nations to produce more.
Yep.
Like Alaska, they used to they would give, or they still do, like a check every month to their citizens from the money they make from the oil. So that would be like brilliant, and it would get people involved where they would understand how money works, how the system works,
and also it would probably affect who they elect, which has been if the voting system also, by the way, on chain, because I don't trust any of the crap that's been going on the past week. Even glad I don't live down further south. But anyway,
but what you were talking about on the
being on chain
level and benevolent, all that stuff. If you're able to do that or say that, communism is just beautiful. Communism is just the perfect thing on a small scale, like a commune, or a family. Yeah, it's super. But if you put it on any larger scale, it's just humanity takes over. All the evils come out. It's the worst thing that there is.
Could
speaking of the Manson family,
could a commune develop? Could you make communism scale up with current technology? If smaller communes are successful, can we take automation and smart contracts and blockchain and make communism work?
Well,
I don't think so. It would be. I was thinking about this on the toilet the other day, so I'll tell you. So I think that when it comes to communism, basically it's an idea that people gather around, and you can be the most loving, peaceful, whatever commune, but you all have this one ideal that you believe in, this one ideal that's important enough for you to just live with other people. I guess it's super maximalism in a much more nicer.
Can I say something that might be politically
incorrect? What would you say about the weapons?
I have a politically incorrect statement too.
I would say
outside of your.
What a better way to wrap up.
No matter how nice your commune is, if you look at other people who don't have that belief, they're not on your team. You know what I mean? They're adversarial.
Anybody's known, communists in real life. They're much like male feminists. They're communists for a reason. They're not actually communists. They might say they're communists, but when it comes down to it, they want the gold. They want their peace, right? humans
I
are
know a couple of
competitive.
people that used to be communists and changed their minds, but I don't think I know anybody currently.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just, it's a psychological play really most of the time with people. But I mean, you see, cook communism into Bitcoin. It's like everything mined goes to everybody. We all get a piece of it as we go. So, it's like, I'm gonna make more addresses and do stuff with more addresses so that I
That's
get more
basically like
cuts.
somebody was asking me to check out something and to, like invest in it. And I always go to the Bitcoin talk thread, if there is one, like to see what what they said over there about what the project's about. And it was basically that. It was like, fuck Bitcoin. We are all Satoshi. Put your money here and then we'll all get paid out. That kind of thing. And I was like,
Well,
well, that
I think on
sounds
a small
less
scale, when you look at an
interesting.
actual commune, it's almost like a religion. It's some kind of idea that people believe
Right.
is
Well,
more than them making money, more than them getting ahead. That's first, which used to be like, God, country, family, then me. That used to,
Wow, we
it
should
has
have an
to be
episode
bigger
on
than-
religion, Sean,
oh,
or science.
or
well,
both
what's the difference?
religious science.
So, to me, like any form of collectivism is a form of delusion, right? If you think of it as some kind of deciding unit, it's not. Individuals still act in collective systems. There's no such thing as a collective entity that takes action. Some individual makes a choice for a bunch of people in a collective. And if anybody's arguing that that is based on altruism, show me somebody who's advocating for that, and I'll show you somebody who has ulterior motives, who's going to do something like go to the Met Gala, the world's officially most capitalist affair on the face of the planet, and let masked serfs haul their
bring that
tax
up
the
now.
risk
You can't.
dress up the tax
And
the
the
risk
fact that
dress up the
all
aisle.
of the help had to wear masks, and no one
Right?
else did.
No, it was
The servants
insane.
had to wear
It was
masks,
like,
and no one else did.
I mean, I was half expecting the next thing that they're going to do to be, let's do some gluttony. We're going to go to the baths and have the masked servants gag us until we can barf up all the rest of our
Wear a hat that
feast
says stop wasting
feast
food.
again.
What's the
It's like-
gluttony bot on Futurama? That's my favorite.
Right?
favorite character.
Exactly.
Yeah. Eating bot.
If you need more evidence that the United States is Rome and it's falling, look no further than that night, because that was just like,
Yeah, and it's so
Fuck,
blatant. But what's
really?
crazy is there are a lot of people that are like, "Oh, that's so great, that's cool, I get it."
yeah, you're right. It's
People
funny.
think it's
To,
hateful.
funny to pretend.
Oh, the love. There's this woman.
Okay. I've been horrible at tracking time. We're already at an hour. Do you guys want to do a short round of lightning to
Sure.
get through
Political
a few more
lightning
questions
round?
or not? Okay, so all the rewards stop there. That is the end. I don't know how many we got through. There's a decent number of questions. So we do lightning round real quick. Try to keep it short. Okay, so let's see here. How important is it that individuals understand smart contracts and contracting is the future based on individuals drawing up contracts, or do you see them reading and agreeing to contracts prepared by companies and orgs? Real quick.
I think today we have people that don't understand contracts as it is, so it'll probably be the same thing with smart contracts. You'll have somebody preparing it who's an expert.
Okay, Greg.
Yeah, I would say definitely at first. It's going to be a lot more experts, and it may ultimately hew towards individuals, but we are a long way from there, and maybe not even headed there.
All right, Sean?
I think something a little differently. The question is talking about companies, organizations. Yeah, that needs to be a little bit more complicated. But the thing about smart contracts is they're simplified. So they're, like we've said, they're cutting out a lot of that legalese and making more of a pure, simple contract. So it is, I think, easier for people to understand.
Yeah, and I will say, I think that there are solutions there where you can map human readable to actual contract innards and standardization will over time may potentially, at least there's the ability for it to be simpler. But anyway, okay, next, Milo 158 question: how can we use blockchain smart contracts to correct misinformation regarding almost everything? What could be implemented or built now? So about misinformation.
Yeah, I don't think that you can fix.
Terrible question.
I don't think that you can solve misinformation that's already started. I do think that you can solve the problem of not being able to easily or efficiently challenge misinformation, to verify, to validate information. If we start recording now, then we can, anything that didn't happen before now, we can better validate.
Okay, great.
Legalized prediction markets.
Yes, that's it. See, that's a proper lightning round answer. Sean.
Okay, well, I'm not going to give the proper one because that's something that's more confusing. If you take a snapshot, we technically have it with fact checkers. It's the basic principle of what you put into a computer. It's garbage in, garbage out. If you create
this might answer your question. According to
shut up,
Wikipedia,
computer.
garbage is an American lockdown.
She's telling me what garbage is. Literally, what garbage is. And she's still talking. And now, there's a band in garbage. I know that. Computer, stop.
Just let her have the floor.
Oh my God, she would talk for an hour on all the different things of garbage for history. What was I saying? Wait, misinformation, because the base of that is what is correct. And that's when you go back to the human element, where there's the fact checkers paid by Facebook telling you what Facebook is, fact on Facebook, or whether it's the right or whether it's the left. It's whatever's controlling what is put into that AI or whatever is going to tell you what is fact. So it's the human element is too much. It's too involved in misinformation.
That's a great answer, but horrible for lightning round, Sean.
I know. That's not when you brought it up. No, bad question. This is a terrible lightning round.
I'm
question.
joking. No, misinformation. The problem right now is centralization. We wouldn't really have a problem. In fact, we are in the best position in human history to correct misinformation because everybody can actually get information from anybody on the internet. The issue is everybody's chosen to go to Facebook for some damned reason, or to go to Twitter for some damn reason. These centralized controlled portals that all live in Northern California in ivory towers that are controlled by dudes that have particular interests and want to push them. And so you could think about all that. You need to decentralize it and make it like I think everybody said, we need to be able to answer back without being canceled and banned, right? So that's it. Jared, NFTs linked to smart contracts that pay out royalties on things like songs, music images, in-game content, physical items on display, so on. That's the topic. So what are your thoughts? Dave.
Yeah, looking forward to it and inevitable.
Yep.
Yes.
The fucking awesome. This is actually where I think the majority of the big growth when we go mainstream is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is stuff that I was excited about when NFTs came out. And now I'm like a 90-year-old man when I'm talking about NFTs and I say, well, these are entertainment NFTs. And no, this is what I was excited about. Solving these problems that have plagued different industries, different governments, the people that have to deal with governments. This is it.
Yeah. I mean, access and use, and particularly rewards based upon people having these things are really amazing, and that's going to be a very simple way for I just hold this token. I don't have to know anything about it, and I'm just getting my payments, right? And it's all provable. There's no one cheating me on the books, which is what really happens all the time right now. The books are, we've talked about bean counters before, right? Okay, Angel Breaker, smart contract orchestration. Dave.
Yes, pass. I'm sorry,
Great.
Angel Breaker.
Yep. A damn big challenge, but one worth solving.
Very good. Sean.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of those robots that would play music in like old YouTube videos, like an orchestra of robots. By smart contract.
This is possible.
Yeah.
I paid for one of those.
I would say Dragonchain has a lot about this topic. We built it out. We have a lot of knowledge about this, and in fact, the beauty is it mirrors what already exists on the internet with RESTful architecture, and on Unix and Linux with System 5 based scripting and just command line stuff. So there's amazing stuff that we've already done with that. Pretty powerful. let's see here. Okay, we're good on time. Fust, how will smart contracts evolve? I think we've answered that already.
Like
right?
those damn dirty apes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rapidly with lots of blind alleys and false starts.
Yep. Yeah,
Yes.
I think so. Into NFT in gaming. That's how it's
Well,
going to
and
evolve.
there's going to be things that people haven't, thought of yet. So it's
I
going to be
don't
pretty
know,
amazing.
and that's what's exciting.
Yes. Fust, how do non-crypto companies value the languages smart contracts are written in? Do companies have a preference, or is their preference optionality for ease of use? Dave.
Yeah, that's once again, that's one of the big things that makes Dragonchain cool, is that you don't have to scare people away with telling them they have to learn a new language. So I think it is important, not necessarily the language that. Yeah, the options are important, I think. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, great.
I
I think
say,
yes, go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
I was saying it's always going to depend on the project itself. A smart engineering team is going to pick the solution that best maps to the problem they're trying to solve, and that's how you should choose the language you use. So
Yes,
sometimes
always.
yes, sometimes no, but it's always an open question.
Yeah. Sean.
Okay, well, I read it a little wrong because it says to say how do. Oh no, I read it right. Non-crypto company. I think that's a big part of why Dragonchain is so valuable, because most, I want to say a lot, most companies, non-crypto companies, don't really understand smart contracts or know about them to have a preference, and they need good education and they need simplicity. Because if you start talking about stuff that people don't understand, it's like anybody you've talked to about crypto, and they get that glazed look in their eye, it's not going to work. And I think that companies, non-crypto companies, will value smart contracts massively once other non-crypto companies start talking about it and how great it is.
If they feel like they have to compete, then they're
That's-
going to care
That's
about it
how
a
it
whole
always
lot.
works, right?
Yeah, it's like
Oh.
you have to have a website or your
I'm
your
gonna lose my
business is
shirt if
going
I
to
don't
work.
do this. Yeah.
Just
Yep.
like that, just like
Yep.
that whole revolution.
And by the way, that was my goal back as early as 2010, 2011 was how the hell do we make, and one of the main things to get a company to consider adopting this is not even just the language. The language makes sense because it's my devs already know this language, so I don't have to worry about them making a mistake on something so important. But even more than that, it is the modeling itself that coding in on Ethereum and Solidity is an entirely different world than coding a web service, which all devs know. And so we wanted, that's why the architecture developed the way that it did, because it means you can take the dev that already knows how to build a web service and they can build smart contracts, and you don't have the risks that you would have building it on Ethereum, even without the issue of language, right? So anyway, it's hard for a lightning round question. That's a good question though. So okay, Cryptish deleted their question. Okay, so we do what? One more?
That's the last
Okay.
one. So let's do it.
Oh, excellent. GDIN. Question: do you know of any widely adopted smart contract use outside of the crypto world, and when do you think we will see mass adoption of smart contracts by the general public?
I don't know of any. I'm too caught up in blockchain crypto world, I guess. And I think that we're going to see mass adoption of smart contracts by the general public in 2032.
Perfect. Great.
So if you if you exclude private blockchains from the crypto world, then I say there's a pretty interesting initiative going on with shipping and logistics around all of the documentation necessary to import and export. I don't recall the name of it off the top of my head, but worth checking out if you're interested. And then I would say, mass adoption is going to happen when sun rises in the west and sets in the east, because I have no idea. It could be tomorrow. It could be 5 years from now.
It's 2032.
Sean.
Yeah, I brought this up, I don't know, last week, a few weeks ago, that it's made, like Greg said, it's mainly used in supply chain right now when it comes to outside of the crypto world, because it was needed so bad. It was in China. They had sent out a bunch of medication that was fake. Tons of people died. And then there was this huge crackdown on how can we fix this. And it was just like, well, easily with crypto, with smart contracts and all along the supply chain. And they adopted it right away, immediately. And I mean, you can use it for the same thing when it comes to like knockoffs and making sure that your Louis Vuitton bag is real. But when it comes to things like medications, food, just making sure that it's all real, and there's nothing along the way that was put in to maximize profits and kill some people. That's where it's used mostly. What I don't know, I keep thinking it will be mass adopted much sooner than it is. I guess it's just like we said in the previous question, when non-crypto companies and other businesses start talking about it and start the mad rush, which I think will be just like the the .com rush, when it's like you got to get a website set up, you got to get into this or you're going to get left behind. That's when we'll see it. It'll happen quick.
Yeah.
Right. Ooh, one more thought on that. Let me go. Sorry. Personal tokens. When those are easy to mint and easy to make use of, that will be a huge thing for wide adoption of smart contracts.
Yep. And your company tokens will maybe come before that, where you can pay your people in company tokens. And, Amazon already does that with stock, right? It'll probably be behind the scenes. Maybe it'll be plugged into medical, like Sean spoke of, where people are using it, but they don't really know they're using it. It's kind of the same process, but maybe it's more efficient for some reason, because it doesn't have to get a fax from a doctor and then check the fax, that type of stuff that is still prevalent. It's really crazy.
Or if you're a medical provider or a hospital or a pharmacy or just a giant company like a grocery chain that has pharmacies, you've got one company that can supply you and they can't verify anything about the medication they're sending you.
Yeah.
We have one that can verify every single step. You're going to go with the one that you can verify every single step.
100%,
And that's what you're going to talk about.
And
you make sure that your stuff is safe. And when that happens, that's when you
I agree, because the level of liability that's in that system is tremendous. And I think, if I were in the stock market, I would not invest in any company that isn't looking at this tech or building it out already. That's doing that. It's stupidity. This is the one thing that can protect you from all
I
these
come from.
issues.
And you're looking at like a liability type insurance. If you, that's a huge discount. If you're going to go with someone that verifies the supply chain through blockchain and with smart contracts versus a company that's not, that's an automatic discount.
Yep. All right. That was the end of the lightning round. Thanks everybody for participating. That was awesome. I think it's really good content. Thanks a bunch, guys. Let me see here. I'm going to go through, make sure I don't forget anything. Okay, so
question askers too.
Yes, yeah. It actually, I would love to. I haven't had time. I'd love to actually go through sometimes and answer the questions in an actual reply. Maybe if we don't get through all of them, maybe that can be the standard. But what do you guys have going on this week, Dave?
Up first. I'm actually working on some local projects to bring adoption into my city personally. I'd like to see things that are, everybody has big scale, like eye in the pie ideas for stuff. And I've got a few that maybe like flip that and use it on a very local, small scale, like a quality over quantity thing. I'm looking forward to talking about it once we roll out towards the end of the year, finally.
Right on. Greg.
Cool. Well, we are looking forward to very soon announcing an almost 2.0 level upgrade to Rivet that we're calling the Cardinal Initiative. And it's going to do some really amazing things that I would love to go into in more detail now, but I can't because of time and because I don't want to steal the thunder of it from the actual thing. But Rivet is about to get a lot more powerful.
Nice. So. Sean.
I'm just going to continue to fight crime under an assumed identity every night.
Yes.
With my
Can you start on the red light cameras? If you're going to fight crime, sorry.
Do it with
I
a
got my
paintball gun.
I just shoot everybody with it.
Do it with a paintball gun.
Okay. Okay. Good deal. Thanks everybody for joining. This was great. Anybody watching, please share this episode. The more you share, the more views we get, the more the hosts and the topic contributors will get. That's very important, and we'd like to grow that as much as we can, right? So like, comment, subscribe, and share it wherever you can. Next week, so if you can go find the post, which should be up pretty soon, for next week's show in the World Blockchain Roundtable there in Den. Go in there and ask questions and vote up the topics. I'm going to go, by the way, at the end of this and vote up all of these topics evenly, all the questions, because they were great. And next week's theme is NFT utility. All right, so that should be pretty fun.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So okay. Anything else? All right. Good. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Adios.
The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of the never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now, there are many. Because soon, there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?